I wasn't born rich. I was born curious. My story starts in Lincoln, Nebraska, back in 1965. My father was an officer in the Air Force, which meant my childhood was a series of new beginnings. We moved from one military base to another, constantly packing and unpacking our lives. While other kids were outside playing baseball or riding bikes, my world was indoors. I was the kid building flight simulators from scratch, losing myself in complex equations. I wasn't interested in toys, I was hungry for truth. I wanted to understand how things work, not just play with them. This insatiable curiosity led me to MIT. I'd have head first into aerospace, engineering and science, fascinated by the idea of creating systems that could never fail. I studied rockets, planes, and satellites, machines designed for perfection, where a single error could mean disaster. I was obsessed with building things that were unbreakable, things that could withstand any pressure. But after graduation, a profound realization hit me. I had spent years studying mechanical systems, but the most fragile, most volatile system of all wasn't made of metal or code. It was the financial system. The world of money was a complex machine prone to spectacular failures, and I knew I had to understand it. So, in 1989, I founded MicroStrategy. I was just 24 years old, and I built a software company from the ground up, centered on the power of data analytics. We were helping businesses make sense of their information, to see patterns and make smarter decisions. And it worked. The company grew at an incredible pace. I went from a recent college grad to running a multi-million-dollar business almost overnight. The momentum was unstoppable. By the year 2000, during the height of the dot-com boom, my net worth soared. For a brief, dizzying 24 hours, I was a billionaire on paper. But the same week I reached that peak, the world came crashing down. The dot-com bubble burst, and it took everything with it. The market imploded. I lost it all. The company's stock plummeted by 99%. One day I was on the cover of magazines, a symbol of success. The next, I was the poster child for excess and catastrophic failure. The media, the analysts, everyone wrote me off. They said it was over. But here's the truth about hitting rock bottom. That fall didn't destroy me. It refined me. It stripped away the ego and the hype, and it forced me to confront the brutal reality of failure. It was the most painful, yet most valuable, lesson of my life. For the next 2 decades, I put my head down and went back to work. I rebuilt MicroStrategy, not with flashy promises, but brick by brick, decision by decision. It was slow, silent, and grueling work. We focused on our core business, on delivering real value. Far from the spotlight that had once burned me so badly, we were building for the long term, not for the next quarter's earnings report. Then, one day in 2020, I started seeing the same signs again. The same irrational exuberance, the same systemic instability. I saw a global financial system that was inflated beyond recognition, propped up on ever-increasing debt. It was unsustainable. The very foundation of our economy, the US dollar, was being devalued at an alarming rate. Money, the very concept of it, was losing its meaning. It felt like standing on a ship that was slowly taking on water, with everyone on board pretending not to notice. I knew I couldn't just stand by and watch it happen again. I had to find a life raft. And that's when I found it. The one thing that couldn't be arbitrarily printed, couldn't be devalued by a central committee. The one thing that was truly unbreakable, Bitcoin. It was the digital embodiment of everything I had been searching for. Since my days at MIT, a system built on mathematical truth, engineered to be resilient and incorruptible. At first, when I proposed my idea, people thought I was insane. They said I was gambling with our company's treasury, with our shareholders' money. The criticism was intense. Wall Street, the media, they all called it a reckless bet. But I wasn't gambling. I was escaping. I was moving my company and its assets from a system I believed was failing to one I believed was the future. Because Bitcoin isn't a stock you trade for short-term profit. It's not a speculative asset. It's a lifeboat in a stormy sea. It's a store of value in a world where traditional stores of value are crumbling. So, I made the call. I took MicroStrategy's cash reserve $500 million and converted it into Bitcoin. Then we did it again, raising capital to buy another $1 billion worth. And then more. We became the first publicly traded company to adopt Bitcoin as its primary treasury reserve asset. When the price inevitably crashed, as it always does in a volatile market, the critics came out in full force. They shouted, "You've lost everything, we told you so." But my response was simple. I didn't buy it to sell. I bought it to survive. My time horizon isn't next month or next year. It's the next century. Every great empire in history, from the Romans to the British, was built on a foundation of belief. The dollar is belief. The stock market is belief. All of these systems depend on collective faith to maintain their value. Bitcoin is different. Bitcoin is mathematics, and math doesn't care about your opinions, your fears, or your beliefs. It just is. It's pure, verifiable truth in a world filled with financial fictions. Today, people call me the Bitcoin maximalist, a true believer. But I'm not here to preach a new religion. I'm here to protect. I'm here to build something that lasts. Something that will outlast me, outlast any corporation, outlast any government, and maybe even outlast time itself as we measure it. My name is Michael Saylor, and when I bought Bitcoin, I wasn't just investing in a digital currency. I was investing in forever. Thanks for listening to my story. If this resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more.